Nobody fired 200 engineers. And that is exactly why this story matters. Because the biggest threat AI creates for some workers may not be a layoff. It may be a job that never gets posted in the first place. Let me explain. On August 6th, 2026, Grindr, the dating app company, released its second quarter results. And buried inside its letter to shareholders was a remarkable claim about artificial intelligence. Grindr said that between July 2025 and April 2026, its total engineering output increased by approximately 2.5 times, but its technical team grew by only about 15%. Think about that for a second. Roughly 2.5 times the engineering output, without 2.5 times the engineers. Then came the number that should make anyone working in technology pay attention. Grindr estimated that before generative AI, producing that amount of work would have required roughly 200 additional engineers at an annual cost of approximately $60 million. Now, before the internet turns that into AI fires 200 engineers, that is not what happened. 200 Grindr employees did not lose their jobs. 200 job offers were not canceled. The 200 figure is Grindr's estimate of how many additional engineers it believes it would have needed to produce the same amount of work, using its old way of working. And that distinction is extremely important because this reveals a very different way AI could change the job market. In fact, Grindr told shareholders it now expects to end 2026 with meaningfully fewer employees than it originally planned, even while it continues hiring. That is the real story. But there's another important detail. How did Grindr measure this huge increase in engineering output? One of its measurements was the amount of code being shipped. And we need to be careful here. More code does not automatically mean better software. Code can contain mistakes. It can require maintenance. And sometimes the best engineering solution actually involves writing less code. So Grindr's 2.5 times figure should be understood for what it is. A company estimate of its own productivity. It is not scientific proof that one AI system can simply replace 200 human engineers. But what Grindr says is happening inside the company is still fascinating. According to its shareholder letter, the engineer's job itself is changing. Instead of spending as much time directly writing code, engineers are increasingly designing systems, directing AI, and reviewing the code that AI produces. Grindr says its next goal goes even further. It wants AI systems that can take a product requirement, break it into engineering tasks, generate the code, check the output, and move it closer to production before a human engineer reviews and approves it. Now ask yourself, if that works, what happens to hirings? And not just at Grindr. This is where the bigger picture gets interesting. Google did something too. It recently studied 15 million anonymized interactions with its AI products. It found workplace AI use across 68% of US occupations, representing 90% of American employment. That sounds terrifying, until you read the next number. Within a typical job, AI was being used for only about 21% of tasks, and fewer than 10% of the work interactions Google studied involved AI completely automating the task. So no, the evidence does not show that AI is suddenly doing everyone's entire job. Anthropic's economic researchers found something similar. As of March 2026, they found no systematic rise in unemployment among workers in occupations highly exposed to AI. But they did find tentative evidence of slower hiring among younger workers aged 22 to 25 in highly exposed occupations. And that is why the Grindr story matters. The first major effect of AI may not always be, you're fired. It could increasingly be, we were going to hire 5 people for this project. Now we need 2. One company cannot prove that this is happening across the entire economy, but it shows us the mechanism. So what should you actually do with this information? Don't panic. And don't try to compete with AI at the tasks AI does best. Instead, break your job into individual tasks. Ask yourself, which parts can AI already do? Which parts still require judgment? Which parts require trust, creativity, responsibility, context, or human relationships? Then learn how to use AI inside your profession. If you're an engineer, that may mean becoming stronger at architecture, security, debugging, and reviewing AI-generated code. If you're in marketing, it may mean strategy, understanding customers, testing ideas, and knowing when AI-generated content simply isn't good enough. The valuable worker of the AI era may not be the person who can produce the fastest first draft. It may be the person who knows what good work looks like and can use AI to reach it faster. Because the most important lesson from Grindr isn't that 200 engineers lost their jobs. They didn't. It's that Grindr believes it can produce work that once would have required 200 more engineers without hiring those 200 people. And that leaves us with a much bigger question. If AI allows companies to produce dramatically more work without dramatically increasing their workforce, who ultimately benefits? The company, or is the existing workers, the customer, or the person whose first job never gets created? Tell me what you think. I'm the AI assistant. Let's separate the headline from the reality.